what's... So, last class, this is where we left off. We had made some improvements to our little arrow asset here. And we're going to continue working on that and kind of expanding on this guy and trying to get him to look as cool as possible. Alright, so that's our task, to get this guy looking as cool as possible. And what I'm noticing right now is like everything's kind of going along this line and it just feels a little too symmetrical, so it doesn't feel a little jagged, so it doesn't feel too different. So I think I might just start, messing with some of this silhouette and moving some of this stuff around just to make it not as even as it has been. Just so it's like, just needs a little bit of variation. It just felt very very generic-y. So, maybe we even match some of these here striations. Alright, just trying to give it a little bit more je ne sais quoi. So that when we do that, it's not going to be as uniform, because everything just kind of goes, it was all too uniform for me, so I wanted to kind of go in there and break it up a little bit more. Just a little more break up in there. Yeah, I can even let me select this guy. Maybe you can extrude it and see what you get. Right, I'm just trying to give it a little more life, and then you can select this vert, right click, target weld this to that, and maybe grab this guy out as like some kind of toothy piece or something, And if you don't like the way it's connecting, kind of tooth, the way it looks, the way it looks right there, you can W2 select these two right here, Control backspace them, Alt C, and then just cut that way. So that's the thing is you're in control of the flow of geometry, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys is. You guys control how this stuff is supposed to look. You guys say, hey, I want this geo here, or I want this here, and then you make it happen. That's your job. You make it happen. So you can then, pull this guy out. It's kind of like a smaller piece or something, Select all of it. I don't know if I'll Really like that. I don't know if I like that addition. See how far back I can control Z. Yeah, pretty far back. So yeah, I didn't like that. It just looked weird. It didn't match the style that I was trying to go for. So easy enough for me to just delete it. So deleted and got rid of it. But you guys get the idea. Like, I didn't like how it was forming on there, so I was trying to change it and give it a little bit more more interest, more crystalline. All right, so that is fine. We'll leave it. We'll leave it alone. Our little experiment didn't work, but that's okay. You just gotta try sometimes. So let's take a look and see what else is left. So we have this inset that we're missing, of where it's got this yellow and everything inside of here is this glowing kind of texture. So everything from here on is like a glowing, this glowing texture. It's like all of this is supposed to be glowing. Right there. All the way down here. So all of this is supposed to be, what's this? Number 2. So let's set the ID to 2, just like that. Now that I've set my ID to 2, it'll display that color. So now if I hit Alt 1, select that guy, and then Control select that, and I can set this guy to 2 as well. Alright. So all I'm doing now is just setting up material IDs for some of this stuff, because some of it's already built into it, so you just have to start throwing it into the materials. Alright. So it's got some right in there, and then it's got this circle thing right here, and then it goes up to like another little circle thing. So let's see if we can achieve that. Let's see how I would achieve something like that. So right here is where it is. So I can select that. Let's just select it by angle. Select all of these guys. By shift. Control, let's just grow this. Actually, let's select all these guys. Snap them back. So snap these guys up here, like so. Control A, right click, and I can just weld. Okay, that's fine. So now what I need is I need to create that geometry within this shape right here. So I'm just going to select this guy and then chamfer this guy again. Alright. So we've got a circle right here and then one right there. So that's what we're going to try to create with this geo that we've got here. So I can now, I'm just going to select these guys, right click, connect, right click, connect that. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not bad. See what a turbo's moving into. Okay. So let's hit X, let's regularize this guy. And scale this guy up. So maybe we regularize this guy. That would probably make more sense. Okay. And then this top piece. So I'm just going to select this guy. Alt C. I'm going to cut right there. Cut right there. Alright. Alt 1 here. Alright, watch this. Boom, 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 boom. Same thing. X. I'm going to do regularize loop. I'm going to regularize this guy. It's going to turn that bad boy right into a circle for us. Now I can select this guy, not constrain it to the edge, right? So what I can do is Alt 1, it's just Alt C. I'm just gonna cut right here, Alt 1, just give it an edge right down the middle. Then connect these two, like so. So now what I want to do is I want to select this, and I'm going to use my regularize on that. So regularize loop. Okay. Maybe get rid of these. I'll just connect these a different way. I'm just selecting these faces again. I'm going to try regularizing it again. I just want it to be nice little circle. Nice circle for us. And it's not that bad yet. Let's do Alt C. Whoops. Cut this to this. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, it's where this is cut right here, maybe. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that should be more than enough for a perfect circle. And maybe it is already. And I just don't see it. Oh, okay. It is a kind of a perfect circle already. So let's make sure. I'm just going to regularize it one more time. Just to make sure. Alright, it's a nice circle. And then on the maybe okay. So yeah, looking at the reference, you can see what I'm talking about right here. Right, you see this circle, this, right, that's the detail I'm trying to create. So it's like this energy field thing that feeds this, so it looks like it kind of goes right back into here. So I would just move that poly a little bit over, or that vert. Right, and the reason I'm just moving it freely is because I have everything constraining to the edge right now, right here. Right, so that I know that whenever I move it, it's constraining it to whatever edge that is on. Right. So that's all I'm doing. Nothing magical about that. So now let us select all of these. And I'm going to make them 2. Turn them into 2. Then I'm going to select everything that is 2. Alright. Everything except this middle one. Because I want to maybe give it a little bit of an inset. Just so it hardens the edge a little bit. Like so. Just a little inset. And then I want to extrude it outward, inward. Make sure. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just enough. Maybe actually we're gonna do two. So I'm just gonna do one and then hit the plus, and it's gonna add another one, and I'm gonna bring this one back closer to the other one. So it's like giving ourselves, it's like creating our edge into our modeling workflow. So that's gonna help us here, because now we get something that looks like that. Alright, so I'm still having a little bit of issue with this guy, with how the circle is acting here. So maybe what I need to do is I'm gonna Control Z, bring this all the way back. Control Y. Let's bring this all the way back to here. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this. Select this. And see if I cap it. Maybe GeoPoly will give me a better, yep, better result. Yeah. So GeoPoly is the way to go on this bad boy. Okay. So I'm just gonna Alt C and because now what I want is, let me Alt C this. I want, right, I want these to be straight into there, like that. And then like that. And I want the same for this. So I want more of a straighter line into there. So now I can select, let's make these guys ones. And then on the keyboard, make sure it's on the edge. I'm just doing some general cleanup here. Some good old cleanup work here. All right. So Control push. I'm trying to do this thing. Control Shift. All right, there it is. Let me just test it out to see if it's going to give me my desired shape. So, inset, shift, oops. It won't let me do that because I'm stuck on the edge. Maybe a small one here, shift, shift. Now let's see. My hope is that it retains this shape. Okay, it does. It does, it does, it does. Alright, cool. So now I can change these guys back into 2s, then select all the 2s except for this middle one, which has already been inset for us. And inset, then extrude. Not that way, the other way. Alright. I don't think it's that sharp. We have plus. Twice. I think we should get something that's decent. Alright, so let's select these again. Select 2, and let's just shrink that. And I just want to shrink that selection. Shrink this. Now I'll give this 2. Now, so it should just be that interior that's kind of lit up like that. All right. So something along those lines is what we're looking for. So the next thing we're gonna get is we're gonna make ourselves some of this here rope, and there's a few ways we can do that. So I'm just gonna F here, and then I'm going to, let's create, let's see, no. I think it's a helix. It's this thing that spins. Yeah, it's a helix. All right. And then you can have it spin however many times you want. So I just created it. It's a 2-step operation once again. So what I'm going to do now is hit A to get my angle snaps turned on, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. 90 degrees, and I'll pull it down to where it needs to go for now. Right now I'm in F3, my wireframe mode, so I can see my wires and see what it's doing before it. So now I just wanted to increase the radius there. And now if I increase the turns, right, you can see that I'm starting to create the illusion that it's going to be spinning around this guy. So what I want to do is I'm just going to grab this guy, place it in place here. So, and as you can see with the rope itself, so, you know, what I would usually do in situations like this is, all right, I've got this rope that I'm trying to mimic. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to count the amount of bands that you have, and hopefully that will tell you how many times it needs to go around. So if I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe 7 in the middle, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So, I think maybe 13. So I'll say 13. So let's do 13 turns, right? So I know there's at least 13 turns. I'm going to do 0.5 on the radius of both. Okay. Control C, Control V, make sure that it's all the same, or cool thing is if you enable it, you can kind of see what the rope is doing. So I can reduce the thickness. All right. So you just kind of want to get a decent base going, and then you're gonna go in after the fact. And so now I just want to maybe increase the height a little bit. All right, maybe increase the height, maybe do 14. I'm still gonna go in after the fact and start, moving some of these verts and stuff around, and you can make sure it's either clockwise, counterclockwise. I do clockwise, just because. But that's the ending right there for it. And if you wanted, you can do quad caps, right? So that you have like a smooth transition at the end and it's not jagged. So now I would maybe make a copy, and then I can hide this guy, and then on our new helix just convert it to an editable spline. Hit 1 on the keyboard, and you can start to actually I can use soft selection here. There's 2 ways that I would go about, I would usually go about doing something like this. I could select that and start using the edge distance and stuff to manipulate it, but it's not as good. What I'm gonna do instead is make sure that I don't have my verts or anything selected. My selection set, I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna hit throw FFD modifier on there. You guys know I love these things, because these things come in handy. Because man, in like seconds you're already grabbing and pulling, and you can start to affect the mesh real quick with just a few moves. I'm already affecting how the mesh is interacting with the piece, and you just want to make it look natural. You know what I'm saying? You want to make it look natural, like it's supposed to fit on there, supposed to be there, right? So I'm trying to match the silhouette of the of the sword, or the arrow itself, not the sword. All right. And I can check the reference to see what's protruding. It's not protruding. And we're gonna have to give some space for the arrow, so this might be a good time. Control A, select all of it, unhide all, and then let's bring the arrow in. It's time for the arrow to make its big debut on the big screen. So I'm gonna bring in our arrow here. Alright, just gonna grab this guy. Make sure I've got my arrow selected. Just pull the arrow in place. Alright. Whoops, too far. I went too far. Apologies. So it goes about like right here. So this is where the tip is. Right here where that little curve is. Right there. Boom. Just like that. Alright. So now that I know that I'm in the right vicinity, I'm just going to bring this guy in to where it's touching. Almost embedded into our side piece. So as you guys can see, I'm making sure where it falls on that, using that as my guide. So now we can go back into our FFD modifier here, and then make our adjustments accordingly, right? Because essentially these pieces will eventually either be used together or separately. So you want them to kind of fit each other. So I might, I might go here like so. Maybe bring these guys a little further in, and then bring where these guys are a little further out. Maybe even this guy right here, just bring him out a little bit so that he's covering that, right? The thing about modeling and what makes stuff look cool and real and all that stuff is, how does it relate to the objects beside it, right? How is it in relation? How close is it to that stuff? And that stuff is really, really gonna either be your best friend or your detriment. So you gotta be careful. So my spline here, I can go a lot. I can turn off my interpolation and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get the lowest geo here. So making sure. And the cool thing about this is, even with this, we can still convert this to an editable spline after the fact, and then do some more work. Do some more work there. So with this guy, I can just pull this guy out like so. Right, so it's almost like this rope piece has a life and a story of its own, right? How does it relate to this arrow piece? Right, it's getting wrapped around it, and you're trying to make sure that the contours of that match so that it sells it a little bit better. Right, you're trying to convince people, well, if it doesn't fit over, it's going to look fake and it's going to look dumb, and so you want to avoid that. So you want to make sure the pieces that need to fit over the right pieces fit over the right pieces and things like that. All right. So maybe pull some of this guy down a little bit. And I might select these middle pieces right there. There we go. All right, so, and the next part of this is we're trying to get these guys to look like they're crossing each other. So I'm just going to throw another editable spline on top of this. So, and this is some of the cooler aspects of this stuff. So these are all corners. That's interesting. Make them smooth. Alright, so I'm just going to hit F3, and then I want to get some of these to look like they are kind of going over each other a little bit. So let's use a little soft selection now. Soft selection. Hidden by our tab. Okay, let's increase the edge distance a little bit like that. All right, let's just allows it so that if I do move, move a piece, it has like an effect throughout. All right, and if you cannot see, let's do. Actually, let's convert this to an editable spline, and I'm just going to turn this off so I can see what's going on. Here, select that guy, use our soft selection, increase the edge distance a little bit. I just want it to be like right there, and then just reduce the way the fall off works a little bit. Alright, so now it looks, kind of moves more rope-like. Alright, so now I can bring this guy, if I select this piece, alright, I can make it look like those pieces are starting to cross each other and go over and under, and it looks like somebody kind of was trying to tie it, but they were in a hurry or something like that, and they didn't really care about, so things like that will help to sell the model. It'll bring it a little more life too, so it doesn't look as, robotic, right? A lot of the thing is, some of this stuff, when you just let the computer decide, it looks like you let the computer decide. Like, it looks like computer generated art instead of something that a craftsman did, right? And that's what you guys want to get into, is making your stuff look authentic, give it a little more life, right? You take the extra little bit of time to go in and make sure that, like a piece like this, I would go in, make sure that it's just a little bit further out so that it captures that and it looks more natural. And you're not gonna, you're gonna be like, in your mind, you're probably thinking, man, that looks like a lot of work for not a lot of result. But the result is, in the end of everything, you have pieces and assets that just look much more natural, much more realistic, just because you took the extra time. And that's what this is essentially. How much time can you put into it, right? So now, as you guys can see, it's starting to kind of feel a little more natural, because we're we're adding just a little bit of life. It looks like somebody actually tied this, and it's not just something machined. So little things like that, where you're taking the symmetrical and adding a little bit of asymmetry to it. Things like that is what makes things look natural, much cooler, much more beautiful. Just that little bit of imperfect, right? We're human beings at the end of the day. Yes, we would love to be able to tie this rope in a perfect manner, evenly spaced perfectly, but that's not how our brain works, or that's not even how we work. We'll tie it might be loose a little bit over here, it might be a little tighter over here, right? So that's human nature. And sometimes we as artists forget to throw that into the art, and the art will suffer, because people will tell, because they'll be like, it just looks, they won't be able to tell you why it doesn't look right, but it's it's that uncanny valley where it just looks too robotic made, or it just looks too machined, and not like it has that human touch. And that's what I try to put in some of this stuff, is that human touch. When it starts to look too robotic, right? Like, it's just, this silhouette value is uninteresting and very, very, but once you start adding just a little bit of life to it, right? You're introducing rhythm and different kind of design eye to it. You're gonna get better results. So, like, now that it's not as straight, there's, you know, peaks and valleys and highs and lows. And, you know, another thing that you could do is you could, you know, go in and throw an edit poly and then make some parts of it like a little skinnier than others. Like things like that will definitely bring it to life. You know what I'm saying? So don't ever, you know, shortchange your art by not keeping those things into account. So, you know, as you can see, look, you know, this, what I'm doing now is just, you know what I'm saying, just making sure that that stuff looks much more natural, that it looks good, and it's, you know, hugging the pieces that it needs to. And, you know, and that's just gonna, that's part of it. That's part of you guys making this stuff look a little bit better and making it look a little more realistic, you know. So you know, making it look just a little more realistic. So now the next thing I'm just going to do is add my rope material to this guy, and you guys can see the results of this, and we're going to call it a class today. So the next thing is, after we do all of this, you guys gotta render it out. You know, you can't not do that. So let me actually delete this. I'm going to select this guy. I'm going to select this right here, create shape from selection, actually cancel. I'm going to throw an edit poly modifier on this guy right quick. Select this edge, create shape from the selection, and then select this guy, and then I'm just going to increase this just because we're missing a bit of this guy. Effect, center, like that. Then I'm going to change the material to this rune thing, and, you know. Alright, and then you can go in, clean up some of this stuff. Cap that. Like that. Just moving out of the way just to give the arrow a little more room to breathe, and mirror this guy. So, you know, I might go in, add more some more runic detail, like right here, maybe one of these guys like that goes up in that area, but let's mirror this guy and the Y, and then make it a instance. Alright, so yeah. That's how I would go about making that piece. And then obviously you would want to tuck these guys in or maybe have them tied somewhere, and you would make another knot separately and then place it on top. You wouldn't try to use this to like make the knot or something like that. So here, this is how I would approach, you know, just the basic form of that piece there, and to get ourselves some of that inner glow. So let's throw some of this guy on there so that that inside piece really glows and shines. There we go. All right, so that's pretty much it for this guy. So here is our piece. We got some decent lighting turned on. Alright, so does anybody have any questions for yeah boy?